This morning we will be continuing on in the first letter of Paul to the Thessalonians. We'll find ourselves in chapter 2, beginning in verses 8 and going on to verse 12. It's 1 Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 8 through 12. And let me apologize in advance that somehow my allergies are acting up this morning. So if I'm clearing my throat periodically, I apologize, but I already feel that tickling going on. So being affectionately desirous of you, we were ready to share with you not only the gospel of God, but also our own selves, because you had become so dear to us. For you remember, brothers, our labor and toil. We worked night and day that we might not be a burden to any of you, while we proclaim to you the gospel of God. You are witnesses, and God also, how holy and righteous and blameless was our conduct toward you believers. For you know how, like a father with his children, we exhorted each one of you and encouraged you and charged you to walk in a manner worthy of God, who calls you into his own kingdom and his glory. Very short portion of Scripture. You can read it, you can look over it, and perhaps nothing really jumps off of the page into your life because, well, really it's not like the Gospels where so much action is happening. Here, Paul's just chatting with those in Thessalonica. And he begins in this portion with his sincere desire for them. He cares about them. Not only does he care about them, it's very important that we notice the order that he presents to them. So being affectionately desirous of you, we were ready to share with you not only the gospel of God. Did you catch that? The first thing that becomes an issue for Paul is his desire that they know who Jesus is and what he can do in their lives. That's the gospel. That's, I hate calling it the good news, because that somehow doesn't seem to do it justice. It's the great news. It's the news that for once in your life, you can be completely and totally forgiven. Man, I think of all the things that I have done in my life, and I know you're thinking, what could he possibly ever have done? Right? Because I am a wonderful, great guy. I am not ornery. I am not cantankerous. I am not mischievous. And if you believe that I have a bridge, I'm willing to sell you. I'm not nasty, but you know, at times I can be a prankster. I can be a jokester. And sometimes, unintentionally, that hurts people. There should be a forgiveness there. Well, there should be an asking for forgiveness first. You see, Paul wants to make sure that the whole world understands, no matter what you have done, no matter what you have thought, no matter what you have said, carelessly, unintentionally, perhaps well-meaningly, that is broken down and caused grief, problems, horrific consequences, sin, you can be forgiven. He comes to bring the gospel of God. But you notice there isn't a period at the end of that. God has something more in store for him. So being affectionately desirous of you, we were ready to share with you not only the gospel of God, but also our own selves, because you have become very dear to us. You might be asking, why is that important? Why is that second half of the sentence so important? Well, I want you to think about for a minute. I want you to think about your life. And let's do it first in this setting. How much would it mean to you for some special event in your life for a friend to drive, let's say, an hour away and be with you? Would that make you feel good? Would that make you feel better than just a text? Hey, thought of you. Which would make you feel better, the visit or the text? Visit. Why? Effort, sacrifice, person, face to face, commitment. There is something that says, I value you when you are willing to give up your time, your personal agenda to spend with others. Paul is saying, not only do we want you to understand who Jesus is, but we want you to see how important it is. We're willing not just to tell you, we're willing to live life with you. No demand is too much. We want to be a part of you. Think about it. That can be revolutionary. Someone to walk with you day and night. Someone to be with you during good times. To help you celebrate. And we have so much to celebrate. Someone to help you up when you stumble, when you fall. Someone to walk with you down those dark, dreary pathways that we all encounter. You see, Paul wanted them to know who Jesus was, but sometimes we realize just telling someone isn't enough. That always rings true in my life, especially when I'm sitting at home on the couch and the phone rings. And the caller ID says it's someone from Washington, D.C., or Topeka, Kansas, or Savannah, South Carolina. And you pick up the phone, and they inform you that because you stayed at one of their resorts in the last bit, that you are now entitled to this great offer. Now, I'm not knocking anyone, but who's ever signed up for one of those offers? Can I see a hand? I see one. Why don't most of us sign up for those great offers? I don't know who they are. I don't trust them. I'm being honest. And I love this one. This one I got, it was from a call center, St. Louis, Missouri, and they were telling me about this wonderful place that I could rent in Hilton Head, South Carolina. And they said they were calling from Hilton Head at this luxurious resort. And I was like, so why does my caller ID say St. Louis? If you're so proud of where you are, why don't you call from there? I just didn't trust them. That trust wasn't there. But you know what I've learned? That when someone comes back from vacation and they tell me personally how beautiful Jamaica was, I consider it. And then I look at my bank account and say, maybe not. Next year. When you have word of mouth, when there's relationship built in, and there is a genuine desire and excitement about something, it means so much more. It has roots, it has purpose, it has meaning. Paul is saying, this Jesus of whom I speak is so important. Me and my parties, Silas and Timothy, are willing to invest our lives that you know it. You see, the beautiful thing is that's why God started the church. The church, Big C. We were brought together that we can live our lives together, providing encouragement, challenge, at times comfort. You know, it's really great that we had all those activities going on yesterday because it really lends credence to it. We had a group gathered at a baseball game. We won't talk about the outcome. But we had folks enjoying themselves together in spite of the home team performing miserably. We had a group gathered here at the church, playing games, laughing, looking at one another slightly differently because I hear competitiveness came out occasionally. And having been to a Joy Christmas party, I don't doubt that for a minute. But you see, that's what God wants. He wants a family that is willing to play together, to live life openly with one another, to invest in each other's lives. Paul shares that right up front, that just not presenting the gospel, but literally being there and living a life with one another is part of our call. For you remember, brothers, our labor and toil, and we work night and day, that we might not be a burden to any of you while we proclaim to you the gospel of God. You are our witnesses, and God also, how holy and righteous and blameless was our conduct towards you, believers. See, Paul includes that too, because if I'm being completely honest with you, Christianity isn't all about fun and games, as much as we might like it to be. As much as we'd like it to be, I sit in the stands and I watch a production on the baseball field, and I'm there with my church members and my church family, and we have fun with it. There is still hard work to be done. Paul, Silas, and Timothy were toiling day and night, doing every little bit that they could to help show the Thessalonians just what a life well-structured meant. God has called us to work hard and to play hard. It brings a smile to his face. Why would that please God? Unity. Serve Midlow. An opportunity for many of us, to come together, roll up our sleeves, and work together for a purpose. Maybe I shouldn't give all that away. What's the reason that we would come together and do this work? Oh my goodness, to show the love of, that's a great answer, John. To show the love of Christ. Do you think it would say something to the community to have teenagers and, I don't even know how to refer to myself anymore, slightly older than teenager? I'm comfortable with that. Everyone else? Mature adults, senior adults, coming together for a common cause to help our fellow Richmonders, Virginians. There you go, that's better. Virginians. And sharing the reason why. Because you know, at some point, they're going to ask, why are you here? Do you have nothing better to do on your Saturday than to rake a stranger's yard? And don't lie and say, nope, I have nothing better to do. Or also don't say, well, my pastor and evangelism director told me I had to be here. While that might be true, that's not the best answer. We do it because we care. We do it because we want to reach out and make an impact. And sometimes that requires a little bit of sweat. Sometimes it means our hands get a little bit dirty. I saw something about painting. That means I get a lot dirty. We play hard together, and we laugh, and we enjoy our time, and we work hard together. Because you know what usually happens? We usually end up laughing again. And we get a little better understanding of who we are. See, sometimes that's sometimes the greatest dynamic to a short-term mission trip. Going away for a week at a time with 30 members of your church family. You get to learn a whole lot about people. You get to learn who really aren't morning people. Because we do real well on Sunday morning, to look the role and play the part. But I'll tell you what, this isn't pretty at 7 a.m. any day. Julia can translate that for you. That means, where is my coffee? In fact, anything that is said before 9 o'clock in the morning is, where is my coffee? Not that I have a problem with caffeine or anything. You get an idea of who those rambunctious night owl people are. Those who are really annoying and they're just hitting their stride around 11 p.m. And those morning people, there's nothing worse than someone that's starting to feel really good around 10:30, 11 o'clock. I know. I'm one of those 10:30, 11 o'clock people. My wife is one of those early morning people, and it can be bad. You get an idea of a person's work ethic. You get an idea of a person's sense of humor. Or lack of. Oh, heaven help us. Or lack of. You get a real good understanding of who the type A individuals are and who are the, it'll be all right. When we work together and we play together and we spend time meshing, something great can come from it. If we continue to look towards the priority. And do you remember what the priority was? What the number one thing, the first thing mentioned was? That we bring the gospel to you. Paul goes into a little further detail about what living life together means. For you know how, like a father with his children, we exhorted you, each one of you, and encouraged you, and charged you to walk in a manner worthy of God, who calls you into his own kingdom and glory. Have you ever had that person in your life that you knew had invested in you? That they spent long hours playing with you? Whatever that means, because I know as an adult, as a 40-year-old man, people don't play with me like they do 4-year-olds. But you know what I mean, in a relaxing kind of atmosphere, gather together, you enjoy their company, and they invest in really quality nothing time. Paul says it's like a father with his children. See, I can remember growing up, my dad was that kind of guy. When I was yo-high, 6 years of age, I decided I was going to play professional baseball. And my dad was not the kind of guy to say, well, you know, only about 0.01% of people actually make it there, son. My dad was the kind of guy who said, oh, great, okay, I'll go get a ball and we'll start throwing. I cannot tell you how many hours upon hours upon hours we threw a baseball. And when that got boring, Dad brought home a bat. And then he threw a baseball and I got to hit. Wow, that was cool. And then when that got boring and the just throwing and catching got boring, then he started hitting the ball to me to catch fly balls and ground balls and make the plays. And you know what happened? From the time I was 5 to the time I was 18, we spent hours and hours and weeks and months, and my mother would say our lives revolved around that stupid, hard, white ball. But you know what I learned from that? My dad cared about me. My dad valued me. Now, I won't say I always took his criticism well, because, you know, there were years there that I was 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and I've learned 13 to 17-year-olds never take criticism well from anyone. Can remember thinking, what's he know? He's just old. Which really hurts now that I'm older than he was when I was thinking that. But he invested time with me, so I would take some of his words a little more to heart than others. He could challenge me in ways others couldn't. He could also comfort me when hopes and dreams started falling apart in ways that didn't seem trite. Because you see, that hopes and those dreams of that 5-year-old didn't cease until he was about 19. And at that point, it's serious. You know, church life's supposed to be the same way. We are a family. Paul calls the Thessalonians to be like fathers to children, to invest time in one another. Maybe it's something that seems as crazy as playing dominoes or tag or trash-get ball or ninja. You see, when we invest time, folks realize we care. I've also learned that when we know an individual cares for us, the discipline that comes as a part of correcting us doesn't seem like punishment. It doesn't seem like revenge. It doesn't seem like retribution. It seems like an instrument meant to grow us. But on the flip side, when we don't invest that time loving and playing and caring for one another, but we show up to say, that is wrong, relationships get fractured. Folks become defensive. Who are you to say that's wrong? Or, says you. And it turns into not an instrument used to grow us, but an opportunity for division and arguments, divisiveness, and fighting. Paul is sharing with the Thessalonians, play together. When necessary, correct each other. And encourage others. Now, I want to warn you. Our society will wholeheartedly tell you we should encourage one another. But we must encourage one another sincerely. If I were to sit down at that piano and I would begin to play special music, I would sure hope someone would come up afterwards and say, you know what, you gave it a good shot, but I just don't think you're a piano player. Because at least it would be truthful. But if we come up and say, oh, Jack, that was just great. That was wonderful. Oh, man, I've never quite heard that piece played that way. It was fantastic. Because, you want to be partially truthful. That encouragement's thin. I know I'm not great. Obviously, unless you have some severe hearing problems, you know I'm not that great. Let's not pretend like I am. But genuine encouragement. Nothing has helped me see this clearly than coaching young preteens and teens. Doesn't matter what you coach them, doesn't matter what you try to help them with, you see these opportunities. You work with people during the week to do this, that, or the other, and then you get to that moment, the game, which is like the test. That is the sports test, a game. And it's always pass-fail. Have you ever noticed that? You win, you lose. If you lose, you didn't do enough right that you tried to do during the week at practice. I love it. You get there, and what I have learned is when you train people, they know when they've messed up. You know what else I know? You don't call attention to it during the test. They know they messed up. You know they messed up. Mom, Dad, Cousin Jane, Auntie Betty, Grandma, they all know their precious darlings messed up. You don't need to call attention to it. just need to encourage. Get back in there, Bobby. Recover. It's all right. You know, the church should function the same way. We gather together on Sunday mornings and we gather together on Wednesday nights for practice. To hear the game plan of what we should be doing in our game that happens every day the rest of the week. Unfortunately, I fear too many times when we get out there on the game stage and something is said and one of us blows it. Has anyone ever said the wrong thing at the wrong time to the wrong person, trying to be helpful? Man, that's a lot more honest than, oh, I sure have. Goodness. And you know what we don't need? We don't need someone saying, man, you really blew that. We know it. As soon as you do it, as soon as you get that foot out of your mouth, you know you've done it. And you really wish you hadn't, and you apologize. You don't need everyone calling attention to it. But you might need someone to dust you off and say, you know what? Yeah, it was bad, but no one died. Hopefully. It's okay. Look on the bright side. The next time has to be better. Because eventually you can joke about it. And there's nothing to be fearful of. You see, that's a loving, caring, invested individual. Someone that can tell you, even though you messed up, it's not the end of the world. You will probably have 50 other opportunities to do that right this time. Woohoo! Paul wanted to make sure the believers in Thessalonica understood that the priority was the great news of Jesus Christ. That is the goal, to let the world hear it, to know that they can have forgiveness and acceptance through Him. But the manner that we carry out that goal involves us getting close to one another. Close to people out there. Genuinely concerned about them. And we do it by investing our very lives in them. To laugh with them. To joke with them. To rib them a little bit. Because, you know, that's what friends do. Sometimes it means that sarcasm that we're told to wipe out because people don't understand it. Close friends know. You can get away with stuff with close buddies that you would never do with someone you almost know. And when we spend that kind of time with them, we can discipline them. But once we've disciplined, we can't leave there. There must be that added encouragement. That just because the Squirrels lost last night, and if I were their manager, I would be honest with them. I would have told them last night, we just played really poorly. We didn't look like very good baseball players. But there's hope. Because we play again tomorrow. Well, some of you might play again tomorrow. Just being honest. there's that encouragement. Because at some point in each of our lives, even if you haven't put your foot in your mouth yet, I think it's safe to say at some point you will probably say the wrong thing at the wrong time to the wrong person. But it does not mean you are a horrible person. Church, let me ask you, who can speak into your life in that way? That has earned enough respect that you know that they have your back no matter what, and they can give you constructive criticism. They can tell you you royally blew it and you don't want to knock them out. Who gives you that encouragement that says, it's okay, I blew it, I'm going to do my best not to do that next week? Who can do that in your life? Even a bigger question. Into whose life can you have that kind of authority? As I look around, there are many wonderfully mature saints in our congregation this morning. In whose life have you personally invested? If you can't come up with a name, I ask you one other question. Why? This was extremely important to Paul. As he's planning the work in Thessalonica, he says, we have come to give you the gospel and to invest our very selves. We all can sit back in Sunday school and say, man, Paul was one of the greatest Christians ever. We can emulate him. No, we don't get to speak Greek. No, we might not get all the training he did, but we can invest ourselves in each other. You see, that was one of the greatest gifts God gave to his believers. It's called the church, where bodies of believers come together to live out their lives. But too often, we don't really take it deep enough. We come and we hang out on Sunday mornings. And we smile. And we say, good morning, John. How are you today?
Dandy.
And I never see John again. We're called to get involved. You see, one of the most painstaking things in the Apostle John's life is he was pulled out of that community and set apart on Patmos, where he didn't have those relationships. Because God fundamentally wants us invested in each other. Now, I know there are over 100 people here today, and I know you're saying, Pastor, I just don't have the time to get involved in all of these lives. And honestly, I really don't like that one person all that much. It's probably me. That's okay. You don't have to get involved in everyone's life, but you should be involved in someone's. That'll make the difference. One to one, and then someone else and someone else. As our musicians come, from what we have heard from Paul this morning, what changes need to be done in your life? If you don't have that one person into whose life you can speak, won't you start praying about it? Who can I invest in to see God's glory happen at Bethlehem? If you've never had that person